Okay, so today we're diving into something a little awkward maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Scheduling sex.
Definitely a conversation starter.
Yeah, we've got this book excerpt from The Pleasure Principle.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's all about like practical techniques for a better sex life.
Mm.
And then we also have this interview with Esther Perel, who,
Of course, yeah.
big relationship expert. And so we're trying to figure out like why are all these experts recommending scheduling sex and like how do we actually make it work?
Right.
Because the last thing we want is another chore on our to-do list.
Right. You don't want it to feel like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting though because there's so many different reactions to this idea.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to be surprised.
Well, the book kind of starts by talking about, how we're all bombarded by images of spontaneous sex?
Like movies and TV shows.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just instant chemistry.
Yeah, whirlwind of passion. Right? Like everything's just perfect.
Yeah, everyone's always in the mood.
And then but then the author's like, okay.
But real life happens.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Right. And we all know this, like deep down.
We all know it.
We know it's not like that.
But we still buy into this myth of spontaneity.
Yeah. And it's not that spontaneous moments aren't great. It's just that, like, they don't happen all the time.
They're the exception, not the rule.
Right. It's like,
And then you add in work and family.
Yeah, all the adulting stuff.
Yeah, just general exhaustion.
I mean, who has the energy for, like, fireworks every night?
That's the thing.
Right.
It's not realistic.
And that's where this whole idea of scheduling comes in, or as Esther Perel calls it.
Creating rituals.
Yes.
Around intimacy.
And it's not about being, like robotic.
No.
Or anything like that. It's about
being intentional.
Yeah.
Making space for connection.
Even when you're not?
Even when you're not feeling particularly spontaneous.
Yeah. Which is okay.
Totally. And there's this analogy in the book about cooking.
Okay.
That I thought was really helpful. Like, how sometimes you just whip up a quick stir fry?
Yeah, whatever's in the fridge.
Exactly. And it's totally satisfying in the moment.
Sure.
But sometimes you want something a little more...
More elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
And so it's kind of like that with sex. Like, sometimes it's like grabbing fast food.
Right, quick and easy.
Oh,
but then sometimes...
You want to plan out a meal.
Yeah, you want the whole experience.
Yeah, and you want to enjoy, like, the anticipation, the buildup.
Totally.
And I think that's where this idea of scheduling as an act of care comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're showing your partner.
You're prioritizing them.
Yeah, that you value them enough to...
The relationship is important enough to make time for this.
Even when things are crazy.
Exactly. And I think this is where Perel's insights are so valuable because she talks about this shift in mindset, like from obligation to genuine desire. Okay. I have to admit, like, the idea of scheduling still makes me a little uncomfortable.
I hear you.
Like, doesn't it kind of suck the romance out of it?
I get that a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
And Perel addresses it head on.
Oh, good.
She actually argues that scheduling can heighten desire.
Real
because of the anticipation.
Right.
Like, think about it, you have this dedicated time for intimacy with your partner. It can create this excitement, this anticipation.
It's like looking forward to a vacation.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the planning is almost as fun as the trip itself.
Exactly. And for busy couples, especially, people with careers and families.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Having that structure can be so freeing.
Oh, wow.
Because it takes the pressure off of like
having to be in the mood
all the time.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, can lead to resentment and disappointment.
Yeah, totally. So instead of waiting for the stars to align,
hoping for that magical moment,
you're kind of taking control and being like,
this is important.
Our relationship deserves this.
Yeah, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And it's not about being rigid or clinical about it.
Right.
Perel talks about bringing playfulness into it.
Yeah.
Imagination.
Yeah. She actually mentions this couple who like created a beach in their living room.
I love that.
Because they couldn't go on vacation.
So creative.
Yeah. And it's like thinking outside the box.
Making it your own.
Yeah, and creating something unique for you and your partner.
Exactly.
It's like bringing back that sense of adventure.
That playfulness.
Yeah.
That can get lost in the day-to-day.
Okay, so I'm starting to come around to this whole scheduling thing.
I'm glad to hear that.
But like practically speaking, how do we even start?
Well, Perel talks a lot about transitions.
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest challenges, especially for women.
What do you mean?
Like shifting gears.
It's like caretaker mode.
Exactly.
To feeling like a sexual being.
They can be really hard.
Yeah.
To make that shift.
So how do we do it?
It's about creating a space.
Okay.
Both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Where you can reconnect with yourself and with your sensuality.
So Pearl gives some examples in the interview, like taking a long shower.
Yes.
Listening to music.
Yeah.
Or even just stepping outside for a few minutes.
Just to clear your head.
Yeah.
Reconnect with yourself.
And she really emphasizes that partners can help with this transition.
It's not just on you.
Yeah.
It can be a shared ritual.
Oh, that's nice.
A way of signaling to each other.
So we're moving from the everyday world.
Into our intimate space.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a nice little ritual.
It's like a gateway to intimacy.
Exactly. And even if like scheduling full-blown intimacy feels like a big leap.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Remember, Pearl reminds us that small gestures can have a huge impact on rekindling connection.
Like little things.
Yeah, like compliments, holding hands, a shoulder massage.
Oh, that's nice.
Things that might seem small, but they can go a long way in nurturing sensuality and closeness.
So I guess that brings us back to you, the listener.
That's right.
Even if the idea of scheduling sex feels kind of daunting, think about what small act of connection you could offer your partner today.
Yeah.
Could be a simple touch, a kind word.
Just a moment of genuine appreciation.
Yeah.
Sometimes those little things are the most powerful sparks.
Okay, so I think we need to take a break here, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about all this in just a minute.
Sounds good. One thing that I think both the book and Perel really challenge is this idea that we need to be feeling like super aroused before we even think about being intimate.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, I've definitely been there, like, waiting for that lightning bolt to strike before even considering, like, initiating anything.
And what if we've got it all backwards?
What do you mean?
Like, the book suggests that sometimes the act of, like, connecting with your partner, you know, with the intention of sharing pleasure or intimacy, can actually, like, kickstart those feelings.
Oh, so, like, instead of waiting for the feeling.
Right.
We can create the conditions for it to emerge.
Exactly. And Perel takes it even a step further.
Oh, wow.
She suggests that sometimes it's more about, like, willingness than desire at the outset.
What do you mean?
Like, maybe you're not feeling particularly in the mood initially.
Yeah.
But you're open to the experience.
Yeah.
And you're curious to see where it might lead.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of having to be, like, perfectly in sync all the time.
Yeah.
Which is pretty unrealistic anyway.
Especially when you're talking about, like, long-term relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not always going to be
on the same page.
Or the same page at the same time.
Yeah, and it really highlights the power of communication, too.
Oh, huge.
Like checking in with each other.
Yes.
Being honest about where you're at.
And finding ways to meet each other's needs.
Yeah. The book also makes this point about scheduling sex, actually reducing resentment in relationships.
Interesting.
I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Yeah, it's about taking the pressure off.
Oh, yeah?
If you're not constantly, like, pressuring yourself.
Or your partner.
Or your partner to be in the mood.
On demand.
Yeah.
It creates more space for understanding and acceptance.
And Perel makes a similar point.
Okay.
She argues that, like, that constant pressure to perform can actually be a major turnoff.
Oh, especially for women.
Especially for women.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
It's about reclaiming your agency.
What do you mean?
Like, when you feel like you have to be on all the time, it can feel like an obligation.
Not a desire.
Not a genuine desire.
Yeah.
Scheduling, on the other hand, gives you permission to relax.
Okay.
Let go of that pressure and to approach intimacy with more curiosity and playfulness.
I like that.
Yeah.
And both the book and Perel emphasize the importance of intentionality.
Yes.
And ritual.
It's not about just blindly blocking off time.
On a calendar.
Yeah, it's about making those moments feel special.
Meaningful.
Connected to your unique relationship.
It's almost like creating a sacred space for intimacy.
Yeah, a way to signal to each other that
this time is for us.
For us, for connection, for pleasure.
Yeah, and that's where the creativity comes in.
Right.
Like finding those little rituals.
Those transitions.
Yeah.
That help you move from the everyday world.
Into that intimate space.
Lighting candles, putting on music, sharing a glass of wine.
Yeah, like setting the mood.
Exactly.
And Perel talks about stepping outside of your usual roles.
Yeah, fun with it.
Like that couple who created a beach.
In their living room.
Yeah.
So creative.
It's about bringing that adventure and surprise to your intimate life.
Exactly. And keeping things fresh and exciting.
Remembering that intimacy is a journey.
It is a journey.
Not a destination.
Yeah.
It's about exploration.
Trying new things.
Finding what works for you as a couple.
And even if you're not ready to jump into full-blown scheduled intimacy.
Okay.
Remember what we talked about earlier?
Those small gestures.
Those small gestures can make a world of difference.
Like a compliment, a loving touch.
A moment of eye contact.
Those little things can be so powerful.
In nurturing connection and reminding your partner that
they are seen.
They are seen, desired, appreciated.
And that's something I hope you, the listener, are taking away from this deep dive.
It's not about grand gestures or complicated plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those small sparks of intentionality that can keep the love alive.
This whole conversation has been so insightful.
I'm glad.
It's really like reframed the way I think about intimacy.
That's great to hear.
And remember.
What?
It's a journey, not a destination.
It is a journey.
There will be times when you need to adjust course or things feel a little awkward.
That's okay.
But the key is to approach it with curiosity.
Compassion.
And a willingness to keep learning and growing together.
I love that.
I feel like I barely scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
This topic. And that's the beauty of a deep dive.
Right.
It's about sparking curiosity, challenging assumptions.
Opening up new avenues for exploration and growth.
And I'm excited to see where this journey takes us in our final segment.
And I am too.
We're going to delve even deeper into the art and science of intimacy.
It sounds good.
We'll be exploring practical tips and techniques.
Oh, that's great.
That you can start using today.
I can't wait to share them with you.
Me too. There's so much more to uncover.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive into scheduling sex, I keep thinking about how both the book and Esther Perel emphasize that it's not about finding time for intimacy.
Right.
It's about making time.
Yeah, it's about making that time meaningful.
Yes.
It's not just about, like, checking a box on the calendar.
Right.
It's about creating those moments that really nurture your connection.
That bring joy to the relationship.
Exactly. And remember, both the sources highlighted that scheduling intimacy isn't just about those grand gestures. Yeah. It's about weaving in those smaller, everyday acts of connection as well.
Absolutely.
Like little things that Perel mentioned, like making eye contact or giving a compliment or just taking a moment to, like,
hold your partner's hand.
Yeah, like those small acts are like the building blocks of intimacy.
They're reminders that you see your partner, you value them, and you want to feel close to them.
Yeah.
Even amidst all the chaos of daily life.
Totally. And this is kind of where everything comes full circle. Even if you're not ready to, like, pull out your calendar and schedule a romantic rendezvous.
Totally get that.
Like, these small gestures can be such a powerful starting point.
Yeah, they're like deposits in the emotional bank account of your relationship.
I like that.
They build trust, they foster closeness, and they create this foundation for intimacy to flourish.
This reminds me of something the book said.
Okay.
It said, intimacy isn't a destination, it's a journey.
Ooh, I like it.
And it really resonated with me.
So true.
It's not about, like, achieving this perfect state of connection.
Right.
It's about the continuous effort of showing up for each other.
In big ways and small.
Exactly. And I think that's the perfect takeaway for our listeners.
Yeah, whether you embrace the idea of scheduling sex or focus on incorporating those small gestures of connection, the key is to approach intimacy with intentionality, with curiosity.
With a willingness to keep exploring what works for you as a couple.
And to remember that it's a journey you're taking together, filled with discovery and growth.
And the constant opportunity to deepen your bond.
Beautifully said. Cool. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Wow, what a journey this has been. We debunked the spontaneity myth.
We did.
We explored the power of small gestures.
Yes.
And we discovered that scheduling sex can actually be an act of care.
Not a chore.
Not a chore.
I hope this conversation has sparked some new ideas and fresh perspectives and a renewed sense of excitement about exploring intimacy.
In your own relationships.
Because ultimately, that's what the deep dive is all about.
Right.
Empowering you with knowledge, encouraging critical thinking, and inspiring you to live a more connected and fulfilling life.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.
Happy diving, everyone.